My name is Rich Schmidt. I'm here at St. Joseph's Winery with Josef and Lilli Fleischmann. It's November 9th, 2018, and we're going to start by asking you guys, why wine?
Well, we have a relationship with wine because my grandfather used to make wine in Hungary, and Lilli, I told the story to Lilli, and this is why it started.
So let's back up a little bit and talk about how you two came to the United States and how you met. So take us through, you were born in Hungary, Lilli, you were born in Germany. How did you guys get to the United States and how did you end up meeting?
Well, it's a complicated story actually. Because she came to the United States to Chicago, and I lived near Chicago. And the relatives her relatives that I knew, they had a friend of mine that was trying to set him up with her, and it didn't work out.
Fortunately for you.
That's right. Lucky for me. Yeah. So this is how we met, outside of Chicago in Montgomery.
How did you come to be in Chicago?
Well, I had a vacation coming, and I thought I'm going to go and visit the United States. Had relatives there in Chicago, near Chicago, and I wanted to stay a year. I promised my parents after a year I'm going to come back. Well, since 1960 I'm here. So, but we met, like he said, and in Aurora, Illinois, and that's it.
That's how we met.
And what were you doing at the time in Chicago?
Well, we came back from swimming because it was Sunday. I worked in a bakery for a while, and after that I got tired of getting up in the morning, so I changed jobs, and I worked for a metallurgy outfit, and then I worked till I went to New York. My cousin in New York wanted to open up a restaurant, and well, he wanted to have me involved in it, so we did, and this is how everything got started.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about Oregon. You're okay, come on in.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
We know that.
You're all good. So let's talk a little bit about Oregon. How did you end up coming into Oregon?
My brother moved out to Oregon, and we helped him move. There was the month of April, 1969.
Yes,
And when we came up the Columbia Gorge, everything was in bloom, and we thought that can't be because Chicago had dirty old snow still on the streets. And when we came up the Columbia Gorge, we thought that is just magnificent.
Shangri-La.
So, and that convinced us to move.
So when you decided to move, how did you go about finding where you wanted to be?
He always wanted to have a piece of land with a creek running through it. And we looked at Montana, Wyoming, but like I said, when my brother moved, so we got stuck in Oregon. So we saw this farm and just fell in love with it.
Was there something particular that drew you to it?
Well, back in Chicago, I also worked for Sarah Lee, which is one of the biggest baking companies, and it's we made only cakes, no bread, just cakes, and they were doing lots of blueberry cakes, and I read that Oregon starts growing blueberries, so that's what I had in mind to come out here. Nothing about grapes. So,
So you started growing. So did you start growing blueberries then when you got here?
I just, as soon as we came out here, nobody knew anything about blueberries. Nobody knew it. It was just somebody, well, there's a place that they had about maybe 5 acres of blueberries. And he was the only one that grew blueberries in Oregon. And I contacted him and talked to him about it, and he says, don't do it. So, and back in Illinois, they were talking about harvesting it, wine machine harvesting and all that thing that is going on right now. That was talked about back then, and nobody knew anything about it.
So once you got here and you found the farm, what was your next step then? How did you get from there to planting grapes?
Well, it took us a while because if you plant grapes, you need the money, and we didn't have any. So our family, helped quite a bit. So, and this is how we actually got started.
What gave you the idea to plant grapes on this land?
We have the hillside. And we always were looking at the hillside, and one day I said, why don't we plant grapes there? It looks like Germany. And so we started, and that was 1978. We planted the grapes.
And so when you started, did you go to anyone for help? Did you just kind of figure it out on your own? Like, how did you learn how to grow grapes and that whole process?
Well, how did we go? We talked to some people that we know, and they came from California, and we have friends living in California. So we just go by. We visited them in California, and we seen how he did it, and he gave us a thing there, So it's something like you learn how to swim. So this is how we actually got started. So we started planting the grapes.
And what did you plant at first? Was it Pinot Noir to start with, or something else?
We planted Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, Riesling, and Cabernet, and Gewürztraminer. Those are the varieties we started. And then later on, we just added more to it, and all that. And so right now, we have whatever we have.
Can we take a...
So when you started planting grapes, as I understand it, you still had some bakeries in the area here as well. So how were you kind of managing all of that?
Worked a lot more hours.
When you planted, did you have the idea of someday being a winemaker? Was that ever a thought?
Yes and no. We never planned ahead. Just from one day to the other. Oh, this, So later on, we met Knudsen, Myron,
Edelsheim.
all those people there, the old timers we met. So you just talking, and this is how back then everybody was in the same boat. So except Knudsen, Erad is the one that he said, oh yeah, and he's a German background also, so we talked and we spoke German, so because we wanted to show everybody that we still know. It's not that we needed it, but and we're still friends with them.
So
Dick I see almost every month.
Love him.
Yeah, he's nice. And well, like I said, this is how we got started. Back then, everybody helped everybody. Right now, back then we had about 30 wineries operating. right now, so how many is it? 700, 800? Yeah, I mean, and they come from everywhere. I mean, we came from somewhere too. It's not that we didn't come from anywhere, but right now they come from everywhere with a lot of money behind them. So it's different. So small winery like we are, we really have to struggle. I mean, not struggle, but we do have to worry about everything that we do. And our daughter and our son, those are the only two people that we have who come from us. And they're
And your son-in-law.
and the son-in-law, that was just the guy. Yeah. So, you know, everybody is focused on maybe taking over. Not maybe, they are.
So we'll come back to that in a second, but I'm curious. So Lilli, it was actually your idea to plant grapes here.
Yeah.
What were you? Did you have any inkling that this would ever happen when you thought about planting grapes on the hillside?
Well, I was thinking having a winery.
So you had that idea already
Yes,
at that point.
Yes.
At what point were you able to say we're going to do this and kind of let the other things go and become a wine family?
So,
After we harvested the first grapes, we thought, what have we done?
that's right.
And then
We met Bill Nelson. You know Bill Nelson? Yeah, he was a friend of ours, or maybe not, but you know something. Or, you know, we met him and we talked to him. We went on vacation together, and I you know, it doesn't matter. You know, there's a lot of things kind of puts went to that direction.
So tell me about some of the early challenges you faced as you harvested your first batch.
Right.
So how did you sell it? How did you market it?
Well,
we had a distributor.
well, we got the distributor, but you know, that was out of the blue. He invited us, and he took us out. He took us out for lunch, and he said, "Do you want us to be your distributor?" And we were flabbergasted because that was the hardest thing to do. And then he took us, and this is how it got started.
Were there like initial reactions to your wine? Did you sell it mostly at the beginning? Did you sell it to people in the area? Were you getting it into grocery stores and restaurants, or how
Yes.
were you selling it at that point?
With the distributor.
Okay.
We went with him to stores and to restaurants and had tastings. And
Lots of tasting.
yeah, competition was big then already. So
Well, because this is when it got started, you know. We didn't get involved fast enough because we just didn't know what to expect. And as long as we had something to eat, we didn't worry about it. But after we sold the bakery in '82. This is when it got to be, and we farmed on the side anyway. So we had an income from the farming side.
So I'm curious about your early consumers, because in 1980s Oregon, not exactly a big wine place yet. So
No.
did people have an expectation of your wine? Did they have any idea what fine wine should taste like? Were you doing a lot of education?
We had, like I said, this distributor. There were a bunch of guys there. We just fell in love with. I mean, we just got along with them really well, and they helped push the wine to the stores and our biggest sale, which impacted a lot, was our Gewürztraminer. And and we had, like I say, we had a lot of friends in the whole business there. So she said, well, could you make that Gewürztraminer the way she used to come down to the wine center, and she said, could you make it the same way as it is tasting right now? I said, nobody likes to do that. And then we did that anyway. And there was the first year we sold out early. The second year we sold out, so something was that we got to be known a little bit. So that was the little Gewürztraminer. It's called L'Esprit.
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 What does that mean?
That means the spirit of.
Oh, okay.
So, and to get that, we had, because there's a clothing outfit. It's called the
Esprit.
Esprit, and we were trying to get that, and we talked to that they did not want to do that. So Tara, she took French in school. She says, well, why don't we just call it L'Esprit instead of Esprit? And L'Esprit is good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So Lilli, I'm curious about sort of the early days as you were getting into this. How did you guys kind of figure out your roles and make everything work as you were starting to make wine and farming on the side and dealing with distributor? How did you guys sort of figure out day to day, week to week, how it was going to work?
We got to be very busy. So, helping in the winery downstairs, we had a lot of friends who donated their time, and it was just wonderful.
Without the friends, we couldn't have done it.
Yeah. And then we entered the wine in competitions, and a big hit was our 85 Pinot Noir. And it got gold medals and took the only gold for the state of Oregon up in Washington.
Wow.
So it was kind of exciting.
But she always, because I had to stay home, do the farming and the winery together, and so she is the one that promoted everything. She was the biggest help that she still is.
The number one marketer right there.
Yes.
So I'm curious, in those early competitions, was it, were there a lot of wines involved in those?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and was it coming from all over the country?
Big
Or
names,
okay,
yes.
interesting. So
We have a cabinet. What is that? Where all our medals are.
Yeah.
I don't know. They moved everything around.
as long as they're here somewhere, right?
I mean, it's a lot of medals we got, and this is how we got started.
Sure.
So.
Was there a moment for you guys when you felt like you had arrived, like you had achieved this? Was it winning that gold medal, or was it something like that where you kind of like we're doing the right thing, this is working?
Right.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
You got the motivation going.
Very much so.
Sure. I'm curious about the name St. Joseph's and how you came up with that.
Well, the St. Joseph, my grandfather that had a winery in Hungary, his name is Michael. And I was going to name the winery St. Michael's. And I was procrastinating. And a guy that worked for us at the bakery, he had a good friend who was working for the OLCC. And he says, Joe, you better go out there and register your name. I said, oh yeah. And that was about maybe 2-3 years before I woke up that I will do it. And then when I did it, it was too late. Saint Michel in Seattle took it already. I said, well, and we were Catholics, and the priest, we were kind of friend with him, and he says, "Why don't you just call it St. Joseph's?" I said, "I'm not a saint." He says, "I know that."
But you did it anyway.
He talked us into it. So this is how the St. Joseph started.
Excellent. Tell me a little bit about, as you developed sort of a grape growing and winemaking philosophy, what was it, and how did you come about the right way to grow grapes, the right way to make wine?
The right way to grow grapes is, like I say, it's from the friends in California. They kind of helped us do that. But to make the wine, I lived in Germany 9 years. And this is when I started the baking and the apprenticeship. And the apprenticeship is 3 years in Germany. Back then, they probably still are the same. But back then, we had the brewers, the winemakers, and the bakers all together in one class. So there's 3 or 4 brewing guys and about maybe 15 bakers and about maybe 3 or 4 winemakers. So the teacher was telling us, okay, this is how we're going to make the wine, yeast and all that stuff. Everybody had to listen because they were sitting in the same class. So this is how I got the first of the knowledge, and later on it just with a lot of books. So.
Did you define that you were making wine for your taste, or were you making wine more for what would sell?
At the beginning, it was all about our taste. And well, later on, we found out, that your taste is different than mine. So we have to tell the people. Because this is your customers, so it's not your taste as much as somebody else's.
So Lilli, tell me a little bit about the development of the property to this beautiful room we're in now, and other facilities for winemaking. Tell me a little bit about how that evolved from when you bought the farm.
This is an old dairy barn. It had a flat roof.
Okay.
We have a photo over there. And we thought we'd have to just do something with it. And I would have been happier if we would have started from ground up and not had a barn to work with. But like I said, we just had that and gutted it and went year by year something different. So, and right now it is, well, it's just a beautiful spot.
And it took a while to get there, it sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know that this is the year you're celebrating your 40th anniversary of your first planting. How does that make you feel? What does that make you think? What does it make you feel when you think about that?
Don't even want to think about it. Because I just never had no inclination it's going to be like that. I didn't have anything to say, oh, I want to be there. Because just every day, whatever it is, you adjust on a daily basis. And it's, like I say, we had to adjust ourselves to our wallets. Not to our dreams.
Did you ever think it would make it this far?
In a way, yes. Because we're the closest winery to Portland. We get a lot of traffic coming this way. And so we thought, well, it has to be something nice. So little by little, we did it.
Lots of friends. They all talk to us. They still are friends.
Tell me a little bit about the St. Joseph's as a family business. You mentioned your daughter and son-in-law as part of it now too. Was that something you had hoped for or intended to do?
Yes. We're still hoping that they follow our footsteps. So.
Not another 40 years.
And so I know that Tara and her husband Carl are involved here and also have their own winery. So is the hope is that they will
tasting room.
The tasting room,
Yeah.
the Pheasant Run. Is
Right.
the hope that they will eventually be running this as well?
Yes.
Well, our daughter is in charge of
It's
this.
in charge.
Yeah.
And you hope it will continue as a family business beyond that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right. We hope so.
Good. Tell me a little bit about, we talked a bit earlier about the size of the industry and that it was 30 or so wineries when you started and 700 or 800 now.
I don't know exactly
It's
how many, but
pushing 800 now, yes, that's about right. Yeah. Besides the size, I'm curious what other changes you've seen, what are the things you've seen change in the industry in 40 years?
everybody got bigger.
Yeah.
Everybody, even, the west, we always call that's the west side, we are on the east side. It seems like the I-5 is dividing the both sides here. And, when we were doing it, we were only having Watson Brothers and us, were the only ones on this side over here. And right now, how many is it, maybe 15, 20?
Yeah.
So, everybody got big. And not only wineries, there's apple cider and all that stuff. It all has something to do with consumption of wine. So everything got bigger and the whole economy, I think, started showing that.
Lily, is there anything you've seen that jumps out at you as a major difference?
Well, I don't know.
Do you think the industry's in a better place now than it was when you started?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, definitely think so, because like I say, there's lots of big wineries from somewhere else came in, and while they're taking over, and actually, it's for the small guys like us, we have to think differently than we did before. Right now, a distributor doesn't even want to pick you up because you cannot supply the whole, I don't know what he's handling, So there's Gallows in here already in Oregon and Kendall Jackson and, it's just get to be very big and actually they are our competition and we cannot compete. How can we compete against or Saint Michel and all those people? It's not as easy. Friends do help, but before that, I think friends helped a lot more. Positive thinking,
So what have you had to do? You mentioned having to sort of change how you approach wine sales and things like that. So what have you had to do to deal with the size and like you say, the people like Gallo and Jackson family coming in? How have you changed what you do?
Well, you go into a grocery store, look at the shelf. When we started, it was not even half the size, and we were displaced according to what we had. Right now, just Sunday, we were in the one store and I couldn't even find myself. Really. So this is the competition because I used to be able to say, well, it's just Fred Meyer's handling us, Safeway's handling us, Thriftway stores, anything else, stuff like that. You can find us right there. Albertson, I cannot say that anymore because I don't know who is having it.
Sure.
So that's the competition.
I'm curious, as you look back, if there are particular moments or stories that stand out to you as like kind of what you're proudest of from your time here in Oregon. Is there a certain thing that you think about and think, I'm really proud about this?
I think we are. The winery is really, I think it's nice.
We have a great following. So, and we strive just to have a good product so people know us and come out to the winery, which is important. And
the whole different sales is have to be. It used to be a lot simpler selling earlier on. A lot simpler.
So what do you hope is in the future for St. Joseph's? What do you hope to see down the road?
I hope it continues. After we're gone, who knows, But I still hope that it will continue.
Do you want to see it grow or change in any way?
That's up to what the market is going to dictate. Yeah.
Is there anything that you would like to try? Grow something different, different kind of variety? Is there anything out there that you've always wanted to try, or you kind of like the wines you're making now?
well,
I think there's more boutique style winemaking done right now. Because you've been squeezed out of the shelf space.
And what about the future of the wine industry in general here? I mean, we're talking about it here. Is it going to continue to grow? What do you see Oregon wine looking like in 20 years?
Oh, yeah.
Anybody that doesn't think that it's going to grow, it needs to be a cut. It definitely is.
What do you see? Do you have any other thoughts on the future on what else it could look like? Do you see a cap on how big it's going to get? Is it just going to keep getting bigger and bigger?
The whole industry?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it is. Because, they're talking about global warming and all that stuff. And it seems like people from from California are coming in here already. So, I don't know. I'm not a scientist in that respect, so and we had hot days in the 70s, and we have hot days right now. So I was not comparing it from just.
True. Anything else I should have asked? Any other thoughts here that you'd like to mention? I've kind of wrapped up my questions, so is there anything else you'd like to say? Or
I don't know what to say.
Well, you've told a great story, so I appreciate that. Lilli, anything you'd like to mention here at the end?
well, I just hope that even if it stays like it is, we're doing well. And the market always can be better, but that's up to us. So, and I think
That is
Tara,
able to do-
Colin, Kirk,
they're able to get along with each other and make a living. That everybody has to make a living regardless whatever they are doing. Without the green stuff, the money, you cannot not survive.
All right, well, thank you both so much. I really appreciate your time and your thoughts here. We'll go ahead and wrap up recording here so you can be...